Dad, how about we get rid of this pig?
Kick out the pig that on and brings a lot of money?
That's what my husband and son were talking about. I decided to pack up and leave.
Hey, why did you withdraw the money from the account?
He said that, but it was all my money. I didn't come home for about a year after that. And when I saw my husband and son again after a long time, they looked at me as if they had changed.
Please come back.
My name is Ashley. I'm a 43-year-old office worker. My husband Brandon and I have been married for almost 15 years. Our son Harold is now 17 years old and in high school. Well, he is actually my stepson. My husband was originally married to someone else, but it fell apart soon after the birth of the child. After his ex-wife left him, my husband supported his son as a single father with the help of my in-laws. One day, he received the divorce papers, and he had no choice but to divorce her. A little later, he started dating me and we got married. My son thought I was really his mother, since he was only 2 years old at the time. Brandon and I were deeply in love, and I also cared for his son. Now, we decided to get married early and become a family. My in-laws have been very kind to me, despite what happened to the ex-wife and my husband. I feel like I can trust Ashley somehow. I mean, his ex-wife was kinda dangerous. To be honest, I'm not really surprised that she left. My mother-in-law said that calmly, and I felt she is a strong person. I thought that with the support of my parents-in-law, I would be able to raise my son without any problems. My son is fond of my mother-in-law, and she will be able to give me advice if I have any trouble. And so, my married life began. My son was cute. My husband and I felt like newlyweds, and we were very happy in the beginning of our marriage. My son was growing up well. My family was close. I was happy every day. My mother-in-law came to my house to take care of my son when I was busy with work. And we overcame many things by cooperating as a family. I thought I could live happily ever after. That's what I thought. But unexpected things do happen out of the blue. Like layoffs. It was about 10 years after we got married. The company where my husband works had a major restructuring, and he was one of many who got let go of. Damn, why the hell should I get the X? My husband was quite shocked because he didn't think he was going to be laid off. Did you ask the company if they would reconsider?
Of course I did. I asked them why. And so they said it should be fine because we both work. They said that since you work for a big company, we probably don't have to worry about the income.
He told me that he was one of the people who got laid off because I work for a big company and my salary is high. I had a complicated feeling when I heard that. I felt sorry for him. But even so, I had worked hard to get a job at the company I work for now. And I had worked hard to raise my salary after I became an employee. Now I am working hard in a high position with subordinates. So I didn't want to look at it as a negative thing. But if your old company is in financial trouble, it might go bankrupt sooner or later. So let's look at it as a positive thing, that you can change jobs early.
I agree.
My husband had a downcast look on his face, but for the time being, he tried to change his mind with my encouragement. However, when things go wrong, everything goes wrong. My husband could not find a new job. He tried to find a new job with the same salary as before, but he never found one. When I suggested that he try starting as a regular employee, he seemed to be frustrated.
Do you think I'm an idiot?
That's not true. But it would be a problem if you don't get a job, wouldn't it? It pains me to see him having a hard time too. So I wanted him to find a new job and go back to work, even if it meant lowering his position a bit. I tried to persuade him to go to a few more interviews with various companies. But that didn't work either. And even the company that offered a lower salary didn't hire him. Gradually, my husband became more and more impatient.
You told me to accept lower pay grade, but I still can't get a job at all. What do you think you were doing? Making me write shameful things.
My husband turned red and yelled at me. I was also troubled by such an unreasonable anger. But he had no other choice but to throw his frustration at me. He gave up looking for a full-time job and chose to work at a part-time job. Well, I would rather have him earn some money than have more conflicts with him, who seemed to be getting depressed. However, I wonder how much unfortunate events can happen in a row in the future. One day, my father-in-law suddenly fell ill and died. It was so sudden that neither my husband nor I could catch up with our emotions. We rushed to the hospital and found my father-in-law already lying on the bed, covered with a cold white cloth.
Dad, why?
My father-in-law was a very kind man. At the funeral, I was so emotional that we cried. Pam, are you okay?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to worry you. I didn't think my husband would go before me. I always told him I didn't want to be the one left behind. He told me he would see me off and that I'll be safe. But at the last minute, he broke his promise.
My mother-in-law was very depressed about the loss of her beloved husband. My son, who is now 12 years old and understands life and death, was very sad about it. I started to visit my mother-in-law regularly. I knew she would feel sad living alone.
Ashley, thank you for everything. But I hope you are not overwhelming yourself, because you look really tired.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm just a little busy with work. I try to be strong with my mother-in-law, but the truth is that it was very hard for me. Because my husband is a freelancer who works only 23 hours a week and does not take care of the house at all. So I have to work very hard and do all the housework, sometimes even doing overtime. My son is growing up and eats a lot, so I have to cook a lot of food. I'm hungry. My son does not know the hardships I have to go through, but he selfishly asked me to cook for his own convenience. I'll make it now, so just wait a bit. What the hell? You're so useless. Hey, why are you talking back to your mother like that?
Shut up. Then do your chores.
Has my son entered his rebellious phase? He started behaving badly toward me. I'm exhausted both mentally and physically. Hey, can you say something to him? Harold's attitude has been a little bit terrible lately. I talked to my husband about it, and he said in a painstaking way.
Most sons have that kind of attitude towards their mothers. I guess his attitude will change when he becomes a member of society, right?
He didn't take my side, so my son could do whatever he wanted.
Mom, give me more allowance.
I can't. I'm giving you enough. We still have to make ends meet. You're living on my father's money. I was at a loss for words, and so my husband looking at me from a distance. In fact, he asked me to hide the fact that he is a freelancer from my son. He wants to maintain his dignity as a father or something. I don't mind it, but it's important to him. However, I thought that it surely has an influence on my son when I hear such a statement from him. My mother, who works part-time and has a low income, is not much different from me. When I'm in high school and have a part-time job, I'll be able to make as much money as you do. My son said that and didn't listen to me at all. I was getting more and more stressed, and it showed in my health. I couldn't eat with my son and husband, who eat a lot because I had to cook for them first. So I fed them both and then ate my share. This meant that I had to eat a little later at night, and the stress made me gain weight easily. I found myself gaining 2 pounds, 5 pounds, and then 20 pounds in 6 months. I wasn't fat, but I was a little plump. But my son and husband started to tease me, calling me a pig.
You have no self-control.
Mom, please don't come to my class. It's embarrassing. My son became more and more brash in junior high, and it was my husband's fault. Hey, why do you have the latest gaming console?
I got it for him because he asked for it.
Where did you get the money?
I took it out of our shared account.
Why did you do that?
What do you care? It's our money. And as his father, it's my way of bonding with him.
Buying him things is how you bond with your kid? What kind of thinking is that?
Shut up. If we play games together, we're spending quality time together, right? Don't make a big deal out of it. What you should care about is your own body shape.
After that, my husband bought something for my son whenever he asked for it. Because he begged me but I didn't buy him anything, my son started to beg my husband all the time. My son's begging made my husband feel better, and he would buy him anything he wanted. But the money came from our shared account. He has been putting some of the money into the account, but it is running out at a tremendous pace. And it seems that even the money I am putting into the account will be used up if I don't do something. When my son became a high school student, my husband bought him expensive wallets and brand name clothes. Probably to lie to my son. If we bought him more expensive things, he would not think that he was a freelancer. However, the money that my husband has in our joint account is running low. I am covering all the living expenses. My husband is completely lacking in this area, but he still buys things for our son with the money in the shared account. This is how he manages his money. He has no intention of bringing more money into the house. My father-in-law passed away a few years ago, and my mother-in-law passed away last year. My husband received his share of the inheritance at the time of their passing, but to be honest, it was not that much. So if my husband continued to spend money at the rate he is now, the money will eventually run out. My son will also want to go to college, so he will have to pay for it. I was very worried if we would be able to make it under such a situation. It was at that time. One day, my son said he wanted a watch that cost several $100s for his birthday. A high school student should not have to carry such a thing. And yet, my husband says,
Alright.
Buy one for yourself too, Dad. Let's get the same brand for both of us. I've reached the end of my patience. Enough! Why would a high school student wear such an expensive thing? Don't waste your money. We can't afford it. I raised my voice, and my husband's eyes widened and he got angry.
What? Are you talking back to your own husband?
And my son agreed with my husband. That's right. You're just a pig who's rely on Dad's money. When Harold started to make fun of me, my husband joined in.
You're such an ugly pig.
Dad, why don't you get rid of this pig? She don't even make enough money.
I agree. Let's kick out the low-income pig then.
I can't stand it. I don't know why I have to be treated like this. I've decided to pack up and leave. The rest is yours to do with as you please.
Well, I don't think you can afford to do that.
As I'm packing my bags, my husband and son are grinning.
Now there won't be any naggings.
I didn't dare to say anything back to them, but just kept silent and packed my bag and left the house. I stayed at a hotel for the time being and withdrew money from my bank account as soon as the next morning. It was the money I had put into the share account. About a week later, I guess. My husband kept calling me that I was so annoyed, but I didn't like it if he called me at work, so I decided to answer the phone.
Oh, hey. Why did you withdraw all the money from the account? Give me back my money, you thief!
My husband suddenly shouted over the phone.
It's all my money.
You're mistaken. The money in the shared account isn't the only way you put in. There's also the money I've been putting in every month, and I don't want you to use it without my permission. I withdraw what I put in, so the balance is what you've been putting into it and spending. If there's nothing left, then you have spent all your savings.
Oh no. Ashley, come back.
I hung up the moment he said that, and immediately blocked his number. You should know how hard it is to be without me. I didn't come home for about a year after that. I got tons of messages from my husband and son during that time. Apparently, after a few months, my husband's part-time salary was no longer enough to support themselves. My son also noticed that their life had suddenly become poor and questioned my husband. He finally confessed, and from then on, he and my son both tried desperately to get me to come back. I rent an apartment near my office to make it easier for me to get to my office and put more effort into my work than ever before. Thanks to this, I was able to successfully complete a big project. After a year of smooth sailing at work, I decided to meet my husband and son for a break. When I saw them again for the first time in a long time, they both looked different and hang on to me. Their clothes were in tatters and their hair was a mess. My husband and son had lost a lot of weight since the last time I saw them, as if they had not been eating properly. They looked really scrawny. By the way, I too have lost 20 pounds in the past year, and I am back to my former weight. But I have hardly changed my diet at all, and I lost the weight just by being away from my husband and son, reducing my stress, and getting a moderate amount of exercise.
Please, I beg you, please come back.
My husband got down on his knees. I came to see you today to formally demand a divorce. My husband and son turned pale when I said that.
Wait, if we get divorced, we'll be living in the streets.
That's right. I sold everything I had ever worn, even my brand name clothes, to pay for lunch for a month. I can't stand the thought of being poor. I don't know about that. You've been abusing me and treating me like a slave. I'm sick of you. And I've realized that I don't need you in my life. So I'm cutting you off completely. I said this, and my son said with a start.
Then pay child support. If you and Dad get divorced, you're gonna have to pay child support, right?
The son said. And the husband took advantage.
Since you make more money than me, I'll divorce you if you pay child support every month.
He looks very proud of himself, as if he has come up with a brilliant idea. But neither he nor my son seem to know what's important. I'm sorry, but I'm not obligated to pay child support.
Huh?
Because Harold and I are not blood related. Harold's eyes widened. Oh my God! You're the son of a woman from your father's previous marriage. Your real mother died shortly after you were born. Then you lived with your grandparents. Then I married your father when you were 2. So, you and I were not related. And I'm not obligated to pay child support in the event of a divorce.
No.
I raised you as if you were my real son. But I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving this man, and I'm cutting you off. And we'll be strangers. Both Harold and my husband turned pale at my words. I want you to write the divorce papers now. But if you can't, we will have to go to court through a lawyer at worst.
Go to court? We don't have that kind of money.
Then sign the divorce papers. My husband reluctantly signed the divorce papers. I filed the divorce papers at the city office and officially divorced my husband. My ex-husband is now working part-time jobs until he is exhausted to pay Harold's tuition and our there and their expenses. However, my son seemed to have a great dislike for my ex-husband because he lied to him. And there's also the shock of me not being his real mother. So the relationship between the two of them is at its worst. I still receive messages from both of them asking me to help them, but I ignored them. I hope my son will take this opportunity to look at himself and change his personality. As for my ex-husband, I hope he goes to hell. I'm working hard today with these thoughts in my mind. I'm going to put love and marriage aside for a while and aim to achieve more results in my work.